Hey everyone, Nori Kotcharian here. I'm just going to wait for a couple more people to turn up. What I want to do today is I just want to go through a couple of things. First of all, as I've mentioned, it's a free webinar. I'm grateful for you're signed up for the webinar, and I'm going to share some great ideas. We'll wait for a couple more people. I know there's quite a few numbers just signed up and registered for the webinar. We're gonna go through a couple great ideas in here in area and in basically sport of MMA. One of the key elements in MMA, obviously, when it comes to preparation for the fight, is the weight cut. As you know myself, I've been an Olympic wrestler, competing internationally, and representing Northern Ireland and Poland before I moved to Northern Ireland. Wrestling, a huge part of the wrestling is as well the weight cut. And today I just want to speak to yourself and just introduce you a couple ideas on how can you actually maintain a focus when cutting weight without jeopardizing your preparation. But we're just waiting for a couple more people, and we can just start it. Okay, I think it's a time, and we're gonna go live in here. This webinar will be recorded first of all, and you will have an access to that when we finish. Every one of you will receive an email from myself, just making sure if you missed something or if you want to go through that. As you know, repetition is the mother of all skills, and I always say this. Now, what are you gonna find out today? As per title, as per subject of this webinar, I'm gonna reveal the secret NK method that helps MMA fighters like yourself, and no matter where you are, if it's just the beginning of your journey in this fantastic sport, if you're already fought and you're an amateur level, you're thinking about moving to pro, or you're a pro MMA fighter, you might as well be in one of the top elite fighters. And then again, it relates to every one of us. We all have to go through that weight cut. And through that as well, you need to try to maintain a focus, because time to time, we have that kind of a struggle. We have that kind of lack of energy, lack of focus, lack of enjoyment, because it is a bit difficult. Now, as I said, I'm going to reveal the secret NK method that helps MMA fighters to maintain focus when cutting weight before their next fight. Now, if you're preparing for a next fight, great. If you're not preparing, this will be something which will allow you to actually think a bit of ahead and use and have a bit more time to practice that. This secret will be revealed to allow you, to, as I said, to basically jeopardize your preparation before the next fight. Now, I'm going to move on to the next slide. I want to welcome you to this webinar. I'm going to run this myself. My name is Nori Kotcharian, and I'm a mind coach and Olympic wrestler. I competed, as I said, internationally. I've competed at the highest level. And I'm just going to go through a couple of things before, obviously, the main content. I'll most definitely mention about the time when, within the 3 months, I've changed 3 weight divisions and competed in all of them. And I'll share some ideas of my results as well on that, and what actually helped me to go through that. This will be a key element in this webinar, and hopefully you will understand a bit more of my background and why I think I'm the right person to actually share those ideas with yourself. Now, first of all, before we move on, I just want to go through the real story in this. It's not your fault. Usually, it's not your fault that something goes not your way. Really, it's sometimes we think it only hits us, nobody else. Nobody else goes through the same struggles, and we sort of start believing this. Now, the other thing is I want to mention here as well. It's you can do this. You can do this because so many people have done it, and you've done it before as well. Maybe it was an easier weight cut and you understood that you're doing something right, and then what could happen to yourself, you could hit a bad weight cut, and then it overwhelms your mindset, overwhelms your beliefs in yourself, and that you actually can go through the same process again and again. Now, I'm going to touch base two hidden enemies as well to this, because in reality, there are hidden enemies when it comes to the preparation. If it's with the weight cut or without the weight cut, the preparation is basically the process which we all go through, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be necessarily just for the fight, but I will touch base to that. Now, suspicions. You're always going to have that kind of uncertainty about doing it right way. You're probably still uncertain about this webinar. You don't know what I'm going to speak about. You don't know what secrets I'm going to mention here. And I'll try to simplify that for yourself. Now, the another real story. It's your dreams. And in reality, you probably heard so many other fighters, so many other athletes speaking about the dreams. How in reality, in the beginning, it was basically sort of just something they've came up with, and then they realized that they need to be obsessed. They realized that the mindset and the whole process is the key to it. It's not only about achieving the dreams; it's actually the whole process, understanding and enjoying. Let us to move on. Who is this webinar for? You might ask yourself, okay, I joined in. Am I the right person for this? Now, let me just start with this. Are you the right person? I believe if you actually decided to do this big step and trust that, it might be worth to spend a bit of a time with myself, and you might be a beginner fighter, as I said, amateur fighter, professional fighter, elite fighter, or MMA coach as well. Or an athlete that struggles through the weight cut to maintain a focus and a right mindset. Now, as I said, it can be very current situation because you're in a process at the moment, or it could have been from the past. Now, thinking about being more smart and more educated, and grow within your sport, you might think, okay, well, it doesn't happen to me anymore, but it happened to me before, and I just want to prepare myself for the future. Now, if one of those fighters is yourself, well done. You're in the right place then, and I'll make you very comfortable with this, and hopefully we'll go through a couple of fantastic ideas. Now, my goal for this online workshop, there's two goals really. The only way for you to achieve focus at the time of the weight cut is to work on your mindset. And if you know me very well, I'm glad, because you would know that highly and high respectively I speak about the mindset when it comes to this industry of sport at the time of the preparation, and especially with this topic of the weight cut. The second goal is the only way to get your mindset right is to get the right tools used, the weight cut program, which I will introduce you to that later on through this webinar. But I hope you will be able to bear with me with this, and you can trust me that we will go through that. Now, you may have said this to yourself, like me, because as I said, I haven't fought in MMA, but I've been an Olympic wrestler for now over 22 years. Now, if you think about that, you might have 3-4 fights throughout your year. Sometimes you get 4 fights. I was competing in some stage 8, 9, 10 times a year, which led to basically weight cut every month and a half. And, in the meantime, you had to obviously prepare yourself. You had to spend the quality time on a wrestling mat, in a gym, and make sure you're following the process absolutely in an appropriate way. Now, I want to be focused when I cut the weight before the fight. Has this kind of thought, have you ever said that to yourself? If yes, join a team, because I've been there and I fully understand your needs and your thoughts about this. Now, I want to maintain a strong mindset. Has that ever been through yourself? You might underestimate, as I did before. I underestimated the mindset side of it because I thought, the physical training is the most important and I can go through certain things. And I realized that my body will always follow my mindset. It's not the other way around. Let me just repeat that again. My body will follow my mindset. And in reality, to get yourself into the training session, into the pushing yourself harder, you need to convince yourself throughout your mindset. Now, my promise to you, if you stay until the end of this webinar, and again, I want to thank you actually for that, your time, for your decision, that you actually made that commitment to be in here with myself, with us, because it takes a huge commitment. If you're ready for something like this and you promise me that you will stay till the end, I have something special for yourself. Now, I'm going to share with yourself, this is my promise, I'm going to share with yourself 100% free video on how to maintain focus without jeopardizing your preparation, which I practiced for over 21 years. Does that sound like an idea? Well, just put yes into the comments box, and we can move on then. Okay, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. I can see that I'm talking to the right people in here. Now, let's just get into it. A few house rules. I know rules are something you always follow as well, because obviously you have referee and you listen to them. You're a very smart athlete. Now, the reason I'm going through house rules on this webinar is I want you to get out of this session as much as you can. And one of the rules is this is a zero bullshit zone. Now, I believe in opinion of others, and I believe that everyone has their own, thoughts about things. But this is something I've studied my own self, and I studied hundreds of different athletes in MMA world and other sports. And this webinar is designed actually to share with yourself the ideas, the study, the whole education I went through just to make sure I can create this blueprint for yourself. Now, I never teach theory. It's not about theory. We as an athletes, we're action takers. We want to have the information and try to implement that into the action. And I hope you agree to that, because if you listen too much stuff, you're going to get confused. You're going to try to use it and it might work, might not work. You don't have a time. We don't have a time for that. We have to just literally take the information and right away take an action towards it. Now, if you could, please turn off your mobile phone. My phones are off. The reason behind it is because I don't want to get interrupted, and I really want you to be focused on this. We spoke about how to cut the weight without jeopardizing your preparation and obviously maintain a focus. Now, this is the right time to be able to maintain a focus. Turn off the Facebook. You can answer the messages later on. It's something, think about this webinar as your fight. You're not on the Facebook at the time when you fight, because you're fully focused on the content of what's going on the event. Now, I need your full attention, as this content will change your life, change your preparation, and will have a future impact to future fights and future achievement. Now, how I got here today. Now, I spent over 52,000 hours on wrestling mats. And I mean, it wasn't only just, joys and fantastic training sessions. There were struggles. There were times where I wanted to give up. And, those 52,000 hours do not just reflect that. The number doesn't reflect what I went through. And I believe if you spend even half of that time, or even over, more than that, within your training, you know what I'm talking about. It's not just the most fantastic journey when you don't understand it. You're thinking that you want to grow, and then you get one of those nightmare training sessions, and you think, you wasted your time. In reality, you didn't. But I'll talk through this as well. Now, as an athlete, I've, one of the highest ever achievements, it was competing and representing one of the greatest countries in my life at the Commonwealth Games, and being able to be part of the great team and having fantastic people around myself was absolutely most enjoyable thing I ever experienced as an athlete. Now, I'm not only an athlete, I've also been a mind coach for past 10 years. Now, I coach some elite athletes, and I've spoken in multiple countries, sharing my ideas to people like yourself. And it doesn't matter, as I said, which level you are, but I'll go through this again and again. Now, throughout my career in wrestling, I had some elements of success, but I was missing something. Now, I won't say that I never won or anything like that, because those things happened to me as well. I did win. I did go through some successful situations. I qualified for the Commonwealth Games, which was one of the toughest things as well. But I've managed to do it because I really wanted to do it, and I was, there was big desire for me. But I still felt up to the certain point that I was still missing something. And I realized that I was doing a lot of things, absolutely right. But the biggest thing I was missing, it was the mindset. Now, after 11 years of being a wrestler, I decided that I need to add something to my preparation. Have you ever heard saying, if you do something every single day, same thing, you can't expect change? Now, we all want to change because the change equals growth. The change equals development. The change equals getting better. Now, just doing the same thing over and over again, you can actually realize that you're not making a huge change. You're just basically adding something to it. And yes, you might say, but I've heard that before, that it's not the 1,000 techniques practiced once. It's one technique practiced 1,000 times. Of course, but then it comes to the stage where you realize that you are growing very quick in some stage of your life, and then you hit the rock bottom because you can't really move on. And then I realized that to push myself further, I need to work on my mental training. Now, throughout that time, as I said, let me just touch base through this. I've managed to compete internationally, in most of the places, winning and losing, mixing the results. Was I happy with this? At that point of time, no, I wasn't. But in reality, looking at the bigger picture, looking past, where I am at the moment today is because of those situations, of those mixed situations that I've experienced a loss, which equals for me learning, and I experienced win, which was fantastic, basically, feeling. Now, by saying this, as you remember from the beginning, I said there was a stage of my career where I competed at the 3-weight divisions within 3 months. Now, it started on 84 kilos, and it was a time when I was probably weighing about 79, but I went 84, and I competed, and in reality, I won gold medal. I was pleased with this. But then again, it wasn't something that I felt challenged. You probably remember from the beginning as well, as I said, it's not just to achieve the result, because the result was fantastic, gold medal. But I just felt that, throughout the preparation, I didn't challenge myself. Now, a month later, we had another competition, and I went and I decided to go to 74 kilos. Bear in mind that my key weight, my main weight class, it's always been 65, 66 kilograms. And I was weighing at that point, as I said, 79 kilos. And I went to compete at 74 and managed to come up with gold. Now, again, fantastic result. Did it give me satisfaction? Did it give me the enjoyment? Yes and no, because in reality, again, I didn't feel that I've actually challenged myself to my limits. And I felt like I underestimated the competition. I still managed to come up with a win, but it didn't give me full satisfaction. And then we've heard about another competition, which was wasn't exactly 4 weeks. It was by 5 weeks away. And my coach said to me that this is a part of the, Commonwealth qualifier. And I said, okay. And if it comes to the Commonwealth, which weight class you would like to see me? And he said, you know what? It's 65, but it will be quite difficult for you now. Now, when somebody says something like this, it's not that they don't believe at me. I don't look at it this way. I just look at it. My coach knew me that through the right words and the challenge, he can make me realize those things and get me just thinking about that. Now, it took me 5 weeks, and I was stepping on a scale, and I was 65.4 kilos, which when I saw the weight on the scales, I just realized that this is one of the best things I've ever went through, because I've went through some really, really tough training sessions, really tough preparation. And in that time, I actually had to fully determine and just make a decision that I'm going to stick to my main focus, which was Commonwealth Games. I and nothing else bothered me. I was just so obsessed about the idea that I will compete at the highest level, that the journey I didn't focus on the journey, because journey is just a process. Now, because of what I went through afterwards was actually built on a great fundamental of going through that kind of challenge. I've managed to compete, as I said, internationally. I've managed to meet great athletes. Like, as you can see, it's myself and Michael Conlon at the games just before the opening ceremony. Now, I've managed to meet this legend who actually just decided to retire this month. And what a fantastic persona, and just shows the persistence going through so many difficulties and so many obviously obstacles, but then creating himself into the picture of being a legend in his field, but not only in his field, and creating a legacy which will lead forever. It will go with him no matter where he is. Now, you're being in MMA, this person, and you can love him or hate him, but when I had the opportunity to actually meet him, it was fantastic, because I remember him saying to me, you know what, one of the reasons I've decided to go with the interview with yourself, it was because I saw how committed you are to your sport. And in reality, you'll be able to actually either share your mindset or get someone who's at the highest level to share with yourself the mindset or the techniques when they actually see the most commitment from yourself. This was after his first UFC fight, and it was absolutely fantastic experience in my life to share some ideas, to actually interview this guy who has a very strong mindset, and he believes that his mindset led to where he is at the moment today, after 5 years holding 2 world titles and making his life as comfortable as possible. Now, another phenomenal person I've managed to meet throughout my journey as well, and throughout the commitments I went through, was Braulio. Braulio's mindset. If you know Braulio, he's a multiple world champion, European champion, international athlete, and and coaching all over the world, and sharing fantastic mindset. And he always said this, that when you step to your cage, to your wrestling mats or BJJ mats or any kind of training facilities, one thing you have to always bring to yourself is your mindset, because you don't know what you can expect from your opponent, from your training session. But if you bring the right mindset, the right attitude, you will actually come up with something from that session. Now, the other part of my life is obviously speaking publicly and sharing ideas with people like yourself, with athletes like yourself. And I'm grateful for that opportunity, because if you have some skills, you always want to actually share those. And I have one of the best opportunities to speak internationally as well. And I think this reflects where I've been in the wrestling mat. It just helped me to actually implement the same mindset to my professional career. Now, here's something you might all agree with me. Regardless of what level you are at, one of the toughest thing when preparing for your next fight is a weight cut and maintaining focus at the moment. Would you agree to this? If yes, just put a comment and just say yes into the comments box, please, now. Fantastic. I'm glad you actually agree to this. Now let's move on. Okay, let's just move on. I've done a lot of things right and a lot of things wrong. I'm pretty sure you can agree that you throughout your career you've done so many things right, and there is also things you've done wrong. By saying this, it's again, remember the points I said. It's not your fault. Don't blame yourself for that. You've just trying. You've practiced and you've trying to find a way, and it could have been that it did work or it didn't work. Now, here's the big discovery. It's never too late to get things right. Now, by saying I've done things wrong, I take it that I've actually had the opportunity to learn. Now, when it comes to the things right, I've also, just added them to my list, and I've decided to stick to them as well. But I also allow myself a bit of a flexibility just to try things, new things, and just see if they might be right or they might be wrong. If they're wrong, I just move on and I try it again. It's just changing an approach. Now, if you're ready to change the trajectory of your preparation without spending years in struggle, I'm going to say that again. If you're ready to change the trajectory of your preparation without spending years in a struggle, then I have a good news for you. It's time. You probably heard that so many times by either watching or competing in UFC by this gentleman, but there is no better time than now. It's time. Think about your name and just think about that saying. The only reason it's time because you are ready, you showed up, you prepared yourself, and you're ready to rock and roll. Now, it's going to take decision, action, and proven system. Now, decision and action comes from both myself and yourself. A proven system, this is something I'm going to deliver to yourself today. This webinar is about you. I just want you to remember, it's not about me. I'm here for you. You're not just here for me. It's about yourself. It's about you getting where you want to get. Now, results, not typical. Your results will vary. I'll share a few lessons I've learned that that give me the greatest results in a short period of time. Now, please understand that results are not typical because the average person who attends free training gets zero results. Now, the reason I'm saying this is just because you don't feel a commitment. Now, you pay for your trainings, you pay for your traveling, and then you get paid for the fighting. Now, think about it this way: if you won't make that weight, you don't get paid, or you get a cut from your purse, and it is a bit of a obviously challenging you, and it creates more difficulty. But you understand there is always that understanding of if it's free, I can just skip it, or I can just okay, listen to it, but then I can just put it on a shelf or just forget about this. Now, the reality is to actually appreciate not only the value of spending that money, but also value of your time, because that's the most important thing. Now, however, I'm happy to share with you for free exactly what's worked for me. Now, by saying what's worked for me, I've by remembering the first line, which I said, it's not your fault. I thought I want to practice. I want to see if it does just work for me or works for others, and I realize it does. Now, this is not for lazy freebie junkies. This is for action takers, and I believe you are an action taker, and you're the right person because you took a first action by being on the webinar, second action by sticking to it, and getting your attention here. So listen, guys, I'm just looking forward, and just want to say, so let's get into it. The 3 secrets you must know are: first secret, which I'm going to share with yourself today, is why MMA fighters aren't aware of these weight cut fundamentals. Just bear in mind, using this system will prevent years of wasted time. Does that make sense? If yes, just put a quick comment. Yes, if you're happy with this. The second secret, it will be discover the right way to overcome the negative voice in your head. Now, think about it this way: have you ever experienced that? You're going for a training session and something doesn't work out, and there's that thing just saying to yourself constantly, what happens if you lose? What if you won't make a weight cut? And you're fighting for a title, and it's like, just remember, if you won't make a weight cut, you're not going to fight for a title. And what if you have a struggle with the weight cut and things like this? The one that holds you back from the achievement you deserve. Now, discover the right way to overcome the negative voice in your head without having to be confused, which is the most important thing, without having to battle your own self. Now, the third secret I'm going to share is learn the exact system on how to avoid starting a fight camp with financial struggle hanging over you. Warning. The warning in this is this system will dramatically tip the scorecard in your favor. Now, by saying this, you've probably been in a situation that something within your financial life was going through not the right way in the middle of preparation. And believe me or not, you might say, I'm doing that because I love this, not because of the money, but money reflects everything in this. And I just want to give you a quick tip because I've been through that. And a few athletes I've been working through, preparing for one of the most important fights in their life, faced a financial struggle in the middle of it. And we had to go through the process of actually overcoming that. And I will help you through this webinar as well. I will help you to actually overcome that. Now, let's get into this. Secret number 1. Here's how the MMA fighters aren't aware of these weight cut fundamentals. Obviously, some of the greatest athletes won't share their fundamentals, won't share the weight cut system they're going through. The reason is because, first of all, it's an advisory item, really, because the advisory item, by saying they've tried it and worked for them, but somebody else can try it and it might not work for them. And it's just a bit risky of sharing this. But in reality, there is a bit of a more deeper inner to it, because they might think if you be able to use it, it might go against them. Now, how to cut and make weight. you might be in a situation like this guy there. You might know him. You might just think about that's just another MMA fighter. But have you ever seen yourself in this position? I'm pretty sure you have. I've been there, and I know how tough that can be. Now, when you're lying like this, there's only one thing you can do, and you can't relay that on your body. That's what I want to say to yourself. Now, why cutting weight? Because first of all, you might try to be like myself. You might want to feel more challenged throughout the preparation, not only just about the fight. The other thing is to try to fit into the right weight division. Now, sometimes because of your commitment, trying weight cuts, it might not go your way. But then again, it's just trying to, as I said, fit into the right weight division and make sure you feel the strongest at the particular weight class. Now, don't forget the other half. Everyone can quickly think of some ways to cut the weight. Would you agree to that? If yes, just put a quick comment into the comments box. Now, there is over 100 of you on this webinar today, and every one of you would have different process of cutting weight or very similar. There's quite a few probably going to be very common. But what about properly putting the weight back on in a safe and timely manner to be ready for the fight? Now, have you ever had the situation that you basically, it took you so much time to cut the weight that trying to put the weight back to where you were, to actually be refueled, to be re-energized, to be ready for the next day, didn't go the right way because we were so much focused on actually cutting the weight, we forget about the process, the right process of actually putting the weight back. Now, when is the last time you actually took the time to stop and think? How should I work on my mindset when cutting weight? Now, it can be a quick answer to yourself. You can put a quick comment as well. Just be honest with yourself. When was the last time you actually just stopped for a second and you thought about it? That, you know what? How should I work on my mindset when cutting weight? Because in reality, as I said, it's not just about the physical weight. You need to convince yourself. You need to manage the focus. You need to go through the right ideas in your head. You need to emotionally be ready for that. And it's all about your mindset. Now, some of the greatest MMA fighters to ever enter the octagon have developed strongest mindset when it comes to weight cut. Now, you probably know quite a few athletes that are really strong about mindset. They speak about mindset quite often. And you probably know the fighters who are achieving a great result and they never speak about the mindset. Would that be correct? Just put a comment as well. Well, let me put it this way. Thank you so much for the comments. Let me put it this way. The mindset has a 95% impact on your preparation and performance. Because when your body can't, your mind is the place where you go to. Now, if you want to grapple and you never grappled, are you going to convince yourself, or are you going to be strongly, pushing yourself to go into your grappling? Of course you won't. You would try to stand it up. Now, if you never practice your mindset, how are you going to rely on your mindset at a time when your body can't push yourself any further? Now, as I said, you might heard about athletes going through mental, preparation, mental training when it comes to the weight cut, and they share it outright. But you might also hear about the athletes never speaking about this, and you might think, oh, they're not going through this. Of course they're going through this because it's still a weight cut. They still have to convince themselves. They still have to basically push themselves as hard as they can. They just rely on that, on the right nutrition, on the right diet. But in reality, to actually allow yourself to fill in with the right nutrition and the right diet, you need to, again, develop the right mindset, motivation, and take the right actions, which, again, starts in your mind. Now, you probably know those fighters in here. They've been through that. They've been very successful, but they are also the fighters who are highly speaking about the mindset. Chuck Liddell, he's throughout his journey, he actually mentioned in one of the interviews, one of the greatest ever experiences he had. It was actually joining a seminar by Tony Robbins, one of the public speakers. And this actually changes the whole understanding of himself, his preparation, and his goals, basically. He's been very, very successful. Anderson Silva, very, very well known about, sharing his mindset about strongly keeping his main focus and sharing the ideas that the mindset actually allow him to be where he is. And obviously Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is probably one of the prime examples of how important the mindset is when it comes to preparation for a next fight, but not only just to get yourself into the training, into the zone, into the mode of becoming a champion. Now, I've learned mindset was the key to my greatest achievements. And in reality, as I said on the beginning, I was doing a lot of things right. I was focusing so much on the physical training, but I only managed to get myself to the place where I thought I can get to without realizing that I was missing that mindset, because I was going through things and I could not understand why I win after, let's put it this way, not very challenging, not very productive training sessions. And then I'm losing when I put absolutely my life out of myself on a training session. Now, living my definition of success was basically having burning desire. And I realized that I need to have a purpose. I need to have that desire. I need to know where I'm going through. And next thing was just hold the belief system to win. Now, by saying this, you can actually quite heavily put yourself under the pressure when you actually set yourself up to win. My idea behind this, to hold the belief system to win, is to hold a belief system that actually leads you to success, no matter what it is, because the success for you can be actually go into the fight and experiencing something you've never experienced, to actually learn something out of it. Not only going through the physical result, but actually to that the experience, the process of experiencing, but also winning. Now, full focus and energy. We're touching again the subject of focus. I had a situation when I basically trained 20 times a week. And you've heard 20 times a week. You're probably doing that same thing. It's nothing unusual for yourself, and I admire this. And that there's times when you have to wake up at 5 o'clock or even slightly earlier to go for a training session. The day is miserable. You had a really tough session last night. But, if you focus on those negatives, if you focus on the difficulties, if you focus on, the tiredness, that part of your life will grow. The reality is your focus, where you put your focus, it grows. Now, my focus was basically what I've created as a desire, which is compete on the Commonwealth Games. And I didn't take my focus away. Every time I was up, I just saw myself as I just travel to the games. I compete on a wrestling mat. I compete in that big environment. And, I was just going through the session and just gave me fantastic, satisfaction at the end of it. And obviously my energy level for next session and next day was getting bigger and bigger and higher. Now, I believe in a 3D, and I'm not talking about 3D as basically the quality of the video or the photo. 3D for me is a decision. You need to make a decision. You made a decision to be here today. You need to dedicate yourself. And the dedication for me is actually understanding your value of your time and spending it, like you doing that with myself. And I really appreciate that. And I will do my best actually to make sure you are in the right place in the right time. Now, determination, that's a last thing in the 3D. Decision, dedication, and determination. Determination leads you when, if you can't, you must. You're determined for the success. You're obsessed about it. Now, the last thing is, and I think not last but not least, one of the most important things to help you to go through that, when you set yourself your desire, when you have that burning desire, when you hold the belief system, the right belief system, and you're focused, Actually, it's a persistent to go through when it comes to the stage that you're literally done what you could, and you feel that you can't push yourself further. Your persistence will allow you to go back, refresh yourself, regenerate yourself, refuel yourself, and come back and push yourself even further. Now, defying the odds. We all have had some odds in our lives, odds against us or odds, favoring us. But defying them is the most important thing in reality, because the odds quite often come from two areas. One is external, one is internal. External are people who are given an opinion about yourself. Internal is the opinion you're given about yourself. Now, defying them is one of the most satisfying things you can ever achieve, because your actions speak out loud, louder than just what you say and what others will say. Bear that in mind. And obviously, self-motivation. You are in individual sport, even though you're part of probably one of the greatest teams, as you would believe. It's really individual sport. It's really personalized. You enter to the cage, and it's literally between you and your opponent. And without a doubt, quite often you go for a run, you go for a gym session, and you have to convince yourself. You have to self-motivate yourself. Use the auto-suggestion, which I'm going to touch base later on as well, to actually get through those things. Now, this is my definition of success. From this point forward, every preparation that you make should move you closer to what you want to achieve. Would you agree to that? Just understanding those definitions of success, just put the comment into the comments just now for me, if you could, please. Now, thank you for that. I'm glad you all agree to this. I'm going to ask you something here. Tell me this. Can you tell me what would happen if you miss the weight or have a butt cut? Now, I'm pretty sure you all know the answer. I know the answer. If it's a title fight, you're missing the opportunity to fight for the title. Obviously, you miss a bit of it from your purse. Some promotion might actually take the whole purse from yourself. There was a situation that the other fighter pulled out because he said he doesn't want to fight a fighter who's not dedicated. He can't push himself for the weight cut. Now, the other thing what could happen as well is, obviously, it disturbs your mindset. Now, when you get into the fight, you sort of feel that you failed just through your preparation, even though you had a really, really good run. But the last bit was you just missed that weight, or you had a really bad weight, and you focus on that process, you focus on that time, and you really brought that mindset with yourself into the cage, into the day of the event. Would you agree to that? If yes, just put a comment. Now, shedding the pre-fight pounds. This is something, quite a lot of fighters leaves a lot of weight, a lot of chunk of the weight. This next section is going to cover the techniques for the adequate weight loss. Now, before I begin, I must remind everyone that their diet should be solid at this point, and you should always be within about 10 to 12 pounds of the weight you want to reach before the weight cut begins. Now, I know this sounds like a bit of, very strange, but this is reality for the healthy weight cut if it comes to the physical side of it. Now, fluid restriction. Obviously, you know the whole process. The simple and most effective way to begin a weight cut process is to decrease or stop fluid intake. Your body's constantly losing fluid by breathing, sweating, and urinating. Then, in reality, the next thing is sweating. The next most popular way to decrease weight before a weigh-in is to sweat out fluid from the body. As you remember the picture, you probably done the weight cut through the salt baths, and then rolling yourself into the towels and just getting into trying to sweat out as much as you can. This can be done in a number of ways and can take off 5-10 pounds of your weight in a short period of time, depending on the conditions. Now, I've been in a situation, as I said myself, but I also experienced a couple of athletes going through that process, and I've been next to them, and I've seen how much struggle they go in through physically. And my goal for being next to them was actually to hold their mindset as strong as I can. And in reality, after all the whole process, when we came back and started refueling, they said the only reason they actually managed to finish the whole process was actually because they constantly focus on what I was saying to them, and taking their focus away from the cut, from the physical struggle, to actually holding the mindset right. Now, a few pieces of advice from myself. A main thing is that you should never try something new a week before the fight. Now, by saying this, it comes as well to this information I'm giving you today, because if you're a week before your fight, you're never going to learn anything new, and you're going to actually confuse yourself. And as I said on one of the parts of my goal is to not confuse you. And this standalone is just a refresher training, just to understand that you're not just alone to go through this process. But this information, as I said, will be recorded, and you can use it for your next fight. This stands for new techniques, new food, new equipment, and especially weight cut. There's no point to try new techniques for the weight cut week before when you haven't practiced that, when you haven't tried it. There's no point to try new techniques with your mindset when you haven't tried it before, because you're going to confuse yourself. Now, eating. Yes, and I did put eating as something to do while you are cutting weight, because the 5 weeks, the last weight cut I did, remember I said about that period of three different weight divisions within basically 3 months. The last weight cut which I did, which I went to the lowest I've been for a number of years, and competing at I can call it my weight division, was through eating the right food, eating the right nutrition, taking into right nutrition, eating more quality food. And this actually helped me to go through the process within more enjoyable process. Now, you made it. Now, what to do next? This question is very tricky, because you might think, well, obviously when I made a weight, I'm just going to refuel. Well, you made a weight and you are feeling good. Now, as soon as you get off the scale, you need to start refilling your body with everything you lost. Now, in reality is, if you don't have the right techniques, the right tools, you're going to basically go through whatever you think, your favorite food, your what's quickest, handiest thing you can pick up. And this is in reality is how you're educated. And the process as well, is to get the right diet plan, right nutrition plan, to actually refuel yourself into the right place. Because as it says, everything you lost, you want to replace that back with something which will actually help you to perform. Because the reason you've lost something, you also lost not only the body fat or the negative stuff you have in your body, you also lost a bit of good things. Now you have to replace them to actually be able to perform. So that was a secret one. Can you see how this is now possible? Can you just give me a quick answer to this? I just want to find out if you agree to this. If yes, that's perfect, because we can move on. Excellent. Okay, we're moving on then. Now, the mental aspect of sport is quite often overlooked, yet instrumental in reaching peak performance. Norik brings an energetic, passionate, and informative approach to what is required to be a successful athlete. I've managed to help Andy Young to understand how to develop and implement this mental focus, providing unparalleled confidence, which he believed has been one of the key factors for his success. Now, I just wanted to share this because it's really important for myself, but it's phenomenal that you can help an extraordinary athlete, a fantastic human being, to achieve his goals, to actually manage and to, you know, make him to believe that he achieved so much throughout his physical skills, but he needs to work on his mindset, and that mindset pushed him where he wanted to be for a long time. Now, let's move on to secret number 2. If you have any questions, maybe this is the right time with regards to secret number 1. If no, we will move on, and throughout the thing, you can have a bit more time to actually think about the questions. Now, the secret number 2 is discover the right way to overcome the negative voice in your head. The one that holds you back from achievement you deserve without having to be confused. Now, having limiting beliefs, lack of focus, fear, being stressed, trying to defy the odds, feeling like self-sabotaging. Does it sound familiar? One of them or all of them? You know, this is something I believe every athlete goes through. And the reason I'm saying I believe, because I've been through every one of them, either all of them in one time or one of them each time. And I faced those. I've managed to go through those by understanding what I'm going to share next with yourself. And by saying this, I've also managed to speak to so many elite athletes and athletes at amateur level or professional level. And they literally confirm exactly the same thing. They've been through that. And they also gave me some ideas, which obviously I'm going to share this within a few minutes, how they overcome those, and just give me a few tips and ideas, which I'm honored to be able to share with yourself. Now, a negative voice is very much like a conversation you would have in a person, but it's done internally using self-suggestion, which can lead to auto-suggestion. And I will speak about auto-suggestion in a few minutes. Now, steps to overcome your critical inner voice. Step 1, identify what your critical inner voice is telling you. Now, if you're trying to think about fixing problem, now you need to realize, first of all, what the problem is. It's what quite often happens. People are, or especially in athletes, facing a problem and they trying hard to find a solution, actually to fix the problem. And they so much focus on that problem grows and completely destroys them. Now, instead of focusing on the problem, find a solution and focus on a solution, because that will push you further. Now, by saying this is, if you focus on a solution, and solution usually is, and this is a quick tip, and if you take a note from this webinar so far, take this note. One of the main solution for your problem is always the opposite of your problem. If that makes sense. If you have a problem and you're trying to find a solution and focus on a solution, first of all, identify what your problem is. And now the easiest way to find a solution is actually try to implement the idea that my solution is the opposite to my problem. In order to challenge the negative attacks, people must first become aware of what the critical inner voice is telling them. Now, quite often when you say, oh, my voice is saying I can't. Okay, this is not enough. What is it saying actually deeply is, what I can't do the weight cut, or I can't throw the left hook. You know, just be more specific what it is. I remember a situation when my inner voice was saying, you know, when first I was introduced to the Commonwealth Games, and my coach said, Norik, I would love to see you on a 65, but it's going to be quite challenging. Now, I knew I have to put some quality training. I need to put myself into the dedication process through this as well. I've asked one of my great friends and fantastic fighter, and I said, can you put me as some kind of a diet plan? It works for yourself. I'll try it. And obviously the true training program outside of my wrestling. And one of the things was, every single morning to do half an hour sprint session. And I looked at the time and it was 5:30, and I was like, are you mad? I was like, I hate running. I don't like to running. And my voice was constantly saying, no, don't agree to this. Don't agree to this. You hate this. But in reality, I didn't realize what I was, telling myself, because I didn't realize what the exact problem was. The exact problem was that I've actually linked emotionally that for a long time in my life, my run was just a run. It wasn't anything that actually pushed me any further. And I love challenges. I've tackled challenges everywhere I go, everything I do, and in reality, I was like, oh my God, 5 a.m., and I remember first morning I woke up and it was like really, really cold, raining, dark. And I was like, oh my God, you know what? I'll just lie in a bed. I'll just skip today. I'll do it tomorrow. Now that was a conversation I had in my voice, and I was like, you know what? Stop this. Norik, your goal is Commonwealth Games, and you need to give yourself a best because you teach this and you push yourself hard. Now, what is the solution to this? The solution to this is actually to come back and take a lesson of this session. And you know what? When I went there and I did the first session, and it was really tough. I didn't say to myself it was tough. I just said to myself that I'm grateful that I actually challenged myself. Now, the step 2 is recognize where your voice come from. After people verbalize their critical inner voice in this manner, they often feel deeply, and they have insight into source of their voice attacks. Now, where did it start? As I said, it started years before I've actually joined the area of personal development, and obviously becoming a coach. I've relayed that to some negative situation through either runs, either difficulty, or I was going through a bad weight cut, and when we were on a camp and I still had to do the run and I didn't have the energy. But then I realized, because I've added my right diet, that it helps me as well to keep the energy, which helps me to continue with the run. Now, the step 3 is responding to your critical inner voice. And as I said, it's actually to attack, to tackle. This will be the language I will speak to yourself. Tackle that inner voice. Just make sure it doesn't push you. You push that inner voice to the area of solution. Imagine yourself, you're being in a cage. When you're in a cage, you're trying step by step to actually take over the whole cage, to take control of the cage, take control of your opponent. And your inner voice is your opponent. Now, you've managed to recognize that. You've managed to identify what it is. Now, go and tackle it. Now, step 4 is understand how your voice influences your behavior. You might remember from the beginning what I said. It's actually your body, your physical ability responds to your voice. Now, if you're thinking that you've been in a situation that your inner voice influenced yourself, you can imagine how much of physical training you've maybe wasted. Now, if you can tackle that, you can actually push yourself even further when it comes to the physical training. Now, step 5, change your self-limiting behaviors. Once people have identified the areas in which they limit themselves, they can begin to change themselves. They can do this by taking 2 actions. To not engage in self-destructive behaviors that is being encouraged by critical inner voice. Now, it takes a habit. It takes a time. But as I said, repetition is the mother of all skills. You tackle it once, you tackle it second time, you tackle it third time, and then you actually learn how to go through the same process if it hits you with different area of your life. And this is something I've experienced. As I said, I brought a lot of experience from sport into my personal and professional life. Now, to increase the positive behavior that goes against the recommendation of the voice. You are standing in the cage and you have got 2 options. You can quit or you can continue going, and I'm not a quitter. Rich Franklin said that, and I believe it's a very, very powerful and strong quote. And it doesn't only relate just to the time when you're actually in the cage. It also relates when you're in a training. You can either just, or in a process of diet, or when it comes to you cooking your food and you're looking at it and you probably wish for a pizza or something else which will give you more enjoyment, I would say. But you're either going to quit or you're going to continue going. And I truly believe in you. I know you're not a quitter. And stick to that. Believe in that and understand that. Now, did you know most of the greatest athletes never run a conversation when competing? You might have seen athletes like Conor McGregor or any other just speaking to their opponent, but in reality, it's just expressing, just throwing out of that inner voice to try to actually influence their opponent with the voice that they don't want to hold inside. Now, I'm going to repeat that. Most of the greatest athletes never run a conversation when competing. What I mean by that, they never run a conversation in their head, because they know if there is a split second that something goes against them, the voice will go against them and there will be doubts. They spit it out. They actually push in that conversation to the opponent. Now, their mind goes blank and they become an action takers using their muscle memories. By letting this out externally, they align themselves to use the muscle memory. And you know the power of muscle memory. Now, focus on performing at your best. And you know what? One of my first ever programs I called Perform at Your Peak, Perform at Your Best. Remember what I said, it's not about holding belief to win. It's not about the win because you pressure yourself. But you know, if you go and compete, if you go and prepare at your best, if you perform at your best, you're going to have the ability to actually pull the right results. Now, let me just give you an example. I competed at the English Open Championships, international competition, and I won my first fight, and I was devastated. I was really, really angry about this, and I was sort of very disappointed of my performance. And my coach said, "Norik, you won. You what else you want from this?" I was like, it didn't feel right, and what I'm saying is, my mind didn't convince me that I actually did my best. I performed at my best. Now, I went and I just refocused, and I just did a bit of a meditation, and I came back, and I reached the final. And in the final, I pushed myself into the limit on that particular day, and I lost it. But when the referee was raising a hand of my opponent, I actually raised my hand, and I felt like, I won a world title. Now, by saying, put yourself into the line, speak to yourself in a language that you're going to perform at your best. And whatever you do, you're taking the pressure off your shoulders. And that means you're going to have more satisfaction when you do your best. Now, tell me this. Can you see how weight cut can't work without your strong mindset and ability to overcome inner voice? Just put in the comments, yes or no. Well done, thank you. I'm glad we can agree to another subject to this, and I'm glad I can get the answer of this. Some of the greatest athletes, some of the very unique people I've met in my life, managed to share some feedback with myself and give me the idea on how actually the mindset training taken into their life actually change their performance and change the ability to see how they perform and how they prepare for the fight, and obviously taken away from that one time to the next fight and carry them along to achieve the success they desired. Now, negative things you tell yourself are incantations. Turn them into incantations. I'm going to say that again. It's a fantastic quote by Tony Robbins. Negative things you tell yourself are incantations. Turn them into incantations. Now, what I mean by that, let me just explain what the incantation is. Incantation is a self-talk. Incantation is basically the auto-suggestion. It's basically when you say to yourself things, and incantation is so powerful because you probably heard about auto-suggestion. And auto-suggestion is creating sort of definition of your life which you follow, which you can read. It's a declaration which you read to yourself, but then incantation is adding an emotion to it, and turning incantation by saying to yourself over and over that you can do something. You know what, you're doing the right job because you're convincing yourself you can do. Now turn them to incantation, and that will change completely your life. And I've worked with so many athletes just implementing declaration in their life, and they reading it through every single day, and they can see that it actually allows them to push themselves through the limits. Now, let me just jump into secret 3. We're going through this process, and I believe we're gonna have fantastic time as well through this. Now, the secret number 3. Before I go, I'm just gonna stop sharing the screen for a second, and just want to ask you a couple of questions. Now, can you just tell me what you think about this whole process I've went through so far? Now, do you believe it's something you can implement, you can work on? And do you believe that this will be something very useful for yourself? And this is something you can actually run through your preparation? If yes, fantastic. Let me just get back to the screen I was sharing. And let me just make it bigger. Now, what we're going to learn in the secret 3 is learn the exact system on how to avoid starting a fight camp with financial struggle hanging over you. This system will dramatically tip the scorecard in your favor, and that's a bit of a warning from myself. Now, by saying this, as I said, the financial struggle unfortunately has a huge impact in our preparation. Now, are you one of those fighters who struggles with financial management and without any sponsors? By saying this, there's 2 topics, how you're managing your money, and if you do have or you don't have a sponsor. Now, challenges with being an athlete are: I've interviewed over 100 elite athletes and coaches. Now, by going through the interview process, the idea behind it was basically to actually have a bit of a more content in my book, for my book, which I'm working on. The other thing was to be able to gain an understanding of what kind of processes they go in, and just try to find the right common things which I can share with people like yourself, with athletes like yourself. Now, what's the difference between pro fighter and elite fighter? Well, you might think there's not much difference because elite fighter is a pro fighter, but in reality is when you're a pro fighter, you still go through certain challenges financially because you're not at the level where people are attracted to yourself. And when you actually go through this and you show yourself, you show the world that this never stopped you, and you're not a quitter, which we already confirmed, you will be able to reach to tip or actually become an elite athlete. Now, elite fighter are the high earners. That's obvious. The reason is because becoming an elite athlete, elite fighter, it doesn't only allows you to actually attract better people, it actually attracts people to yourself. Now, by saying this, you're becoming more attractive, you're becoming more, I would say, sexy for companies to sponsor you, to actually be able to share things. And obviously, in here, you can actually ask for more money. You can value yourself more. Now, by saying this, you should value yourself more, even at the level you are at the moment. One of the greatest things I've ever heard was, if you're an beginner feel like an amateur fighter. If you're like an amateur, feel like a pro fighter. If you're a pro fighter, feel like you're an elite fighter, because that will help you to push yourself further. Now, when you know better, you can do better. Would that be correct? I'm pretty sure you can agree to this. Now, have a question to yourself. Tell me this. Can you see how training with elite has shaped how you show up with your team and other fighters? Quite often you travel, you want to join, one of the top teams, share the trainings with one of the greatest athletes. Why? Because you want to become better. And you know what? My goal as well is actually, because I believe this information which I have is an elite quality information, I want you to join me and be able to actually team up with me. And I will basically do my best to get you through this and make sure this will shape how you show up and perform. Now, after all this information, do you go through the question, I'm not sure why I showed up? Are you still not convinced? Or are you convinced, but you still don't know how to use this? It could be because you're frustrated with where you are at the moment, not necessarily with the content or information I gave you. You feel stuck or like you're going in circles. Well, see, when one of my first mentors and then a few other people shared with me the idea I've shared with yourself today, I was frustrated because I honestly thought I'm doing the right things. And I felt confused in the beginning, but I realized, you know what? I haven't tried it before. Let me just try it. I did feel in the beginning stuck like in a circle. I was just feeling like chasing my own tail. The reason is because I was trying something new and I was expecting a huge difference right away. And yes, I understood it takes time, but I've just been given a blueprint which can speed out that process, because in reality I was probably still chasing my tail for years. Now it can be cut down to months or even days or weeks. Now it was my choice. Now, the other thing could be you want to know what's blocking achievements. I wanted to know because before I didn't even bother to focus on this. Now I wanted to know what was blocking my achievements. Even I had a great training session. Now another thing can be you need to trust third-party perspective. By saying this is you can only trust yourself so much. The reason you have coach, the reason you have nutritionists, the reason you practice with other people, because you can see the third-party perspective. And this is a key element, because somebody more experienced can actually give you something you won't be able to get without actually stepping away and spending additional time on doing this. It's like myself, I didn't know how to diet, and I actually went to nutritionist and I said, listen, I just need a diet. This is my training regime. This is where I compete. This is what I want to do. This is what I achieve. And I actually asked an expert. When it came to my mindset, I did exactly the same thing. I didn't know how to work on my mindset, and I didn't know because nobody actually qualified and personalized the right tools for myself. Now, the 3 secrets you discovered today is here's how MMA fighters aren't aware of these weight cut fundamentals. The second was discover the right way to overcome the negative voice in your head. And the third one is learn the exact system on how to avoid starting a fighting camp without financial struggle hanging over you. Tell me this, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about making this happen for yourself? Just put in the comments not the digit from number to 1 to 10. Now, as I promised, 100% free, how to maintain focus without jeopardizing your preparation, which I practiced for over 21 years. That brings up a question. The only question you should be asking yourself right now is, how can I guarantee the best focus and mindset to achieve the best weight cut result for my next fight? Would that be correct? Excellent. Now, if you want to know right now, put ready in a chat box. Let's do this, guys, because I truly believe we can make a huge changes. Well, You can do it slowly and piece together the info you learned from me today. We cannot solve our problem with the same thinking we used when we created them. This is a fantastic quote, and you should allow you to actually think about what's going on. You first of all create a problem, and then you're trying to fix that problem, find a solution, using same thinking when you create that problem. Now, trying to solve your own problems is the slowest way to get results, or can go fast. This is a question. Do you believe it can happen? Well, do you want to go fast? Just put in a yes in the comments box and we can just go fast now. Wow, fantastic. Okay, I'm in the right environment. Now, I have created a solution for athletes who want results fast. Now, it doesn't take much to create significant change, but it takes the right system. Small tweaks means massive results. Now, have you ever realized that by saying small tweaks, that if you try to practice your kick, and you turn slightly your hips, it made a huge impact. It made massive difference. The same thing with the system. If you get a small tweaks from the system, it makes massive results. Now, I want to introduce you with the Weight Cut. This is an exclusive program designed to help MMA fighters maintain focus and cut weight with a winning formula. But this program is not for everyone. Pretty sure it might sound a bit disappointing, because you might think, well, what if I'm one of those everyone's? Well, let me put it this way. This is not for fighters who are not ready to invest time and effort to use the proven concept to improve their circumstances. This is not for fighters who are not action takers, and I believe in you. You are an action taker. It's not for a fighter that like to throw money at their problems and not implement the hard work. And this is not also for fighters who don't believe they deserve a great life. Do you believe you deserve a great life? Well, if yes, you're the right person. If you believe you don't deserve it, I'll share with you powerful steps that gets results. So if you don't think you deserve to live a life of total fulfillment, you will self-sabotage. Now, if you think any of those points are not related to yourself, then you are the right person. So why I have created that program? Now, it's designed to assist you with overcoming the lack of focus when it comes to your preparation, the struggle of the weight cut, an embarrassment of missing the weight, doubts when having low energy. The weight cut program will make it easy too. Okay? Now, let me just give you an idea what this program will make for you easy. Find your best practice to maintain focus. Now, would this be important to yourself? I'm pretty sure after being on this webinar for some time now with me, you will agree that this will actually bring something important to your preparation. Now, adopt the right routine to your preparation. Now, you might say, I have a routine already, but I'm talking about the right one. I'm talking about the personalized one. I'm talking about the one which you already agreed that with the right process, with the right program, you actually can improve it. Now, keep strong mindset and energy. As you know, throughout this webinar and throughout my work, I've also always raised the importance of keeping a strong mindset and keeping the energy. Now, attract and achieve best results. What are you going to get? The Weight Cut program I break down what's working and what's not working in the preparation through these key pillars. Now, the key pillars are passion, focus, limiting beliefs, self-confidence, and persistence. Now, passion, this is the first step to achievement. You need to realize that what you're doing it with a passion. Focus will redefine the success. Limiting beliefs will try to eliminate them. And the self-confidence, we will develop the authenticity. Persistence, get some now. This is something will push you further. Now, the weight cut program, passion. As I said, it's the first step of the achievement. Decide what you want, know what that means to you, and be ready if something goes wrong. When it comes to focus, it's learn how to be fully focused and energized. Limiting beliefs, learn how to eliminate limiting beliefs, those which constrain us in some way. Self-confidence. The concept of self-confidence as commonly used is self-assurance in one's personal judgment. So it's quite easy to say I'm not confident or I don't have a self-confidence. We all have it, but you just need to dig deeper. And I will help you to do that. Now, persistence is an essential factor in a procedure of transmuting desire into physical equivalent. The basis of persistence is the power of will. Now, willpower and desire, when properly combined, make an irresistible pair. A summary, what you're going to get with the weight cut program: focus, limiting beliefs, self-confidence, persistence, and the total value of this is £922. And you might think, I knew it's going to lead to some value and nothing is for free. Now, bear in mind, this is just a value of each chapter of that program. But would I be myself if I say this is the final thing? As you know, I'm persistent, and my goal, as I said from the very beginning, is to give you something you can take with yourself today. And it only takes one person to get successful and legend in sport to change everyone else. Will that be you? Well, let me help you with this. Who loves bonuses? Now, bonus number one, and this is the free bonus. Learn how two-time world champion does the weight cut. I'll give you the formula, diet plan, and just bear in mind, this is an advisory. He used this weight plan, Andy Young uses this weight plan to achieve the best preparation. This is bonus number one, and this will be something you can try. And as I said, not a week before your fight, maybe just before your next fight, or practice that actually before you go through any preparation. Now, bonus number two is create a plan B and manifest your dreams. This will be 6 interviews with coaches and fighters who will explain how they maintain weight cut without jeopardizing preparation, which I personally interviewed and I want to share with yourself. Now, a summary what goes with the program is focus, limiting beliefs, self-confidence, persistence, bonus number one, bonus number two, and that brings a total value of £1,106. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not ready to go through this kind of investment. I'm happy to learn it, but what happens next? Well, if all this did for you was finally unraveling the web you've waved around yourself that's choking you out, would it be worth it? If I showed you through this program on how to get out of that struggle, would it be worth it? if I showed you how to stop half of what the negative voice says to yourself, would it be worth it? And finally, if I help you, if this program showed you how to clear the path so you can finally get the results you desire, would it be worth it? If at least one of the answers to this question will be yes, well, you've got two choices. Choice number one is you do nothing. If you take what you've learned today and do nothing, that equals nothing. Or you can choose to take a leap of your faith, just test it out to see if it will work for you. Now, information alone won't save you. Would you love one more bonus? Well, let me just get you ready for one more bonus then. First action, bonus, 1-to-1, create a momentum. What I mean by that, I will personally spend with the first 10 fighters who order the weight cut program, I will spend on a conference call to create a crystal clear vision of your future, to uncover what's sabotaging you from achieving the best results you desire, to leave renewed, re-energized, and inspired. Now, this call is completely free, and this will only be for first 10 fighters who order the program today. A summary what you're gonna get with the weight cut program: focus, limiting beliefs, self-confidence, persistence, bonus 1, bonus 2, and the bonus 3, which gives you the total value of £1,400. Now, I wouldn't be myself if I wouldn't play a bit of a person who really likes the idea of sharing and giving the opportunity to everyone. And this is a webinar only deal now. Now, you can save yourself over 75% on this program. Now, 75% is a lot. When was the last time you've managed to save 75% on anything? Now, the summary, the total value, and today only, you would pay £197. If that sounds like a fair deal, get started now, because you can only wait for so long, but it will only lead to few things which we touch base today. And in reality, the lack of investment will get you the lack of the desired results. Now, remember, this program is only available for to 15 fighters who are ready to change now. Now, this deal is only available to 15 fighters, and first 10 get that additional 1-to-1 coaching session, coaching calls with myself. Now, this is an exclusive program designed for ambitious fighters who are coachable and teachable. If you feel in your heart I'm talking to you, get it now. Now, one of the greatest fighters I've managed to also speak to and share some ideas said that the mental aspect of sport is quite often overlooked, yet is instrumental in reaching peak performance. Norik brings an energetic, passionate, and informative approach to just what is required to be a successful athlete. He has helped me to understand how to develop and implement this mental focus, providing unparalleled confidence, which I believe has been one of the key factors for my success. You can only have one: results or excuses. Are you going to use an excuses, or are you going to focus on results? Now, this program is only available to 15 fighters. Are you ready to achieve total fulfillment? Great. Get into it now. And I honestly want to see you on this program, on this system, as soon as I can, because I'm looking forward to work with yourself. I'm looking forward to share this idea with yourself. And if you're ready, I'm ready. If you're ready to actually join me in a team up, and get yourself into the next level of your fight, of your preparation, and get yourself, the desired outcome. Welcome, you're in the right team then. Now, thank you so much for your time. And if there's anything else, and if there's anything I can action this for yourself today, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy. I'll be pleased to be able to assist you. Looking forward to see yourself. Looking forward to see you achieving the greatest result. Have an amazing time, and I will speak to you shortly.